Hello, my name is Ian J. Cole and welcome back to this series of videos about how to set up and restring a 12-string guitar. If you've watched the previous videos, we've looked at the neck, we've also gone through the tuning process, but now we've got an additional problem because the guitar has got a broken nut. Let's have a look at that now. So here we are, and what's happened when we took the strings off, as happens quite often with guitars, the nut here is actually split in two. There's two things we could do. We could try and repair it, but actually it'd be really nice if we got a replacement nut, the one that fits, then we'll try and actually replace it. And to do this, we need any old block of wood really. So what we're going to do is I'm going to position this behind the nut, and then with just something, a bit of weight to it, just give it a quick tap, and that should, yep. So there's our piece. So here we are. I think I found a replacement nut. It certainly is the same size. I'm just going to put it up against the old nut. So it's left a little bit of the residue, which I'm now going to just clean out, and then we'll glue in the new nut. Right, that's now ready to go. We just use a little bit of wood glue. So the last job to do before we restring, and that's to clean the headstock. So we're going to do this with our trusty sock, and we're just going to put a little bit of guitar cleaner on the sock, and we're just going to go over all of the parts of the headstock. And while we've got it in this position, I'm just going to clean the back of the guitar. Actually, we should probably pop that off. Now here we've got some dents and some marks. Now some of these marks will come off with a little bit of cleaner, but we'll see what we can do. Trying to get rid of them. It's where the guitar's been bashed a bit. Oh, that's pretty good. We've got most of the marks out. A little bit more. There's some sort of glue. We're now at the point where we're going to re-glue the nut, the new nut, and replace the strings. Okay, now there's a choice of strings for a 12 string. We're actually going with a set of what are called 8. That's based on the highest E string. But there are other choices. We've got also a set of what I call lights. These are 9s, and we've also got a set of 11s, which are classed as mediums, and you can get heavy strings, and a lot of these strings are based on the gauge of the highest string. Anyway, this particular customer has asked to put a set of 8s on, and that's exactly what we're going to go and do. We'll do it now. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to fit the nut and glue the nuts in here. Right, the way that we do that is I just need to get a piece of paper, and I need a small Allen key for this type of job. So let's take the top off the glue, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to a little bit of glue on there, and I'm going to smear it along the bottom here. Not too much, just really enough to hold the nut in place. We'll do the back of the nut as well. It's all looking good. And what we can do now is just pop it in. I just need a damp cloth to wipe away the excess. It's a little bit too much on there, I think. So we'll wipe away the excess. It's a damp cloth, so it'll, there we go. And now we can get on to restring. Now we've got to be careful because obviously the nut is still wet. The string packet actually helps us by guiding us through which string would go where. So the 2 8s on the top. So I'm going to put the 8s on first, and then I'm going to put the 22 and the 24. So that'll help the nut stay seated in place. So let's find, there's our 22 and 24. Right, so I've laid out all the strings in pairs, and we're starting with the 8s. Our pins are all ready to go. We know which pin was which, so let's pop these 8s in first. Now when it comes to actually stringing the guitar, we usually should have more string than we actually need. And the easiest way of actually deciding how much string to leave on the guitar is to choose about the 5th or the 7th fret, depending on how big your fingers are, and that's sort of how much we need. So thread it through. Hold my finger up like that. I'm just going to give it one quick turn, and then I'm going to tighten it like that. So when we come to do what is in effect a low E, the 22 gauge is going to be the 12th string, and the 40 gauge is going to be the 11th string. Now, because the nut will still move because it's not set yet, we're able to just move it ever so slightly into position. And now, before I put the rest of the strings on, we're going to put the cover that goes over the truss rod. We're now going to put the truss rod cover back on. We've given it a clean. I've also found a replacement screw for the dodgy screw that took forever to get out, so we'll throw that one in the bin, and we'll use that screw, and here we go. And now back to restringing. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to retune for the first time. I mean, what I tend to find is that because these strings are new, it'll take 2 or 3 retunes. I mean, and certainly over the first week, the guitar is more likely to go out of tune, purely and simply because they're still stretching. Anyway, right, so let's tune. You'll also notice I haven't cut off these bits yet. The reason being, if for whatever reason I have to take a string off, I tend to don't cut the ends of the strings off until after I've tuned it for the first time. So, right. So there's the low E string and its partner in string, which is tuned an octave higher. So there's the octave higher, and there's the low E, and we just do the rest. It's drifted slightly already. This is not uncommon. And when that happens, what's happening is that the string, nothing untoward has happened, but the string has stretched and it's given, and it seems to be much looser. And that's half of the guitar tuned. Now on to the second half. What you'll notice that I've been doing is I've been switching between guitar setting on the tuner and chromatic. I'm using the guitar setting for what would be the conventional 6-string strings, and then I'm using the chromatic setting for the octave settings, for the octave strings. And we've just lost one of the pins on one of the B strings, so I have to reposition that, and then I'll probably have to hold it in while I'm nope. Phew. So that's the first complete tune, and now we will go through the process all over again from the low strings to the high strings, and then cut these bits off. And what I would tend to do then would be leave it overnight, retune again tomorrow, and then the guitar will be good to go. So let's retune again. We'll just cut the ends off. I'm not sure what happened there, but the top E string just came away. I didn't cut through it, so I'm able to put it back on and we'll just tune it. Oh, it's gone again. It's a very strange situation. It's not breaking, it's just coming away. So there we are. I've put that top E string on again, and it's all sorted. Couple of things. I'm going to give this guitar a quick play to make sure everything's alright. Sometimes what's happened, because we've put a new nut on here, sometimes we might have to cut where the string goes. We'll give it a play and see if all of these strings stay in position. But sometimes that's not a big deal. We'll cover that if we need to. Sounds great. So thanks so much for watching. That concludes this series on how to set up a 12-string guitar. If you like what I do, hit the subscribe button, and a thumbs up is always muchly appreciated, and ding that little bell if you want to be notified when my next videos go up. See you in the next video. Thanks very much. Bye bye.